Welcome and thank you for joining us on this panel discussion. In this discussion, we are going to talk about AI at the edge. Right? So, we have two builders that join us from LATAM, and they actually build the infrastructure that runs AI at the edge. Right? We are not talking about running the models or the pipeline and everything. We are talking about them building the infrastructure that powers the AI at the edge. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Gabriel, for joining us. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself, Sam and Gabriel?
Yeah, I can do it. I can start it. So I'm Sam Freitas. I'm head of business development at Simply Tech. So have the pleasure to distribute Rakuten for Latin America. And this is Gabriel.
Yes, Gabriel Prodera. I'm the CEO for Simply Tech, and we're the distributors for Rakuten in Latin America.
All right, thank you. So, Sam, you help deploy, infrastructure at the edge, right, for LATAM. So, help us understand what is real, what is really running in production versus the hype.
Yeah, so I understand this market in three different tiers. So basically we have tier one, which is production at scale, ROI generating profit right away. So we can understand this tier one as something like a camera, something like people using something under using AI to ask questions, bots, and everything. So basically, when we think about driving throughs and optimization, all people digitalizing plates on the street, this is tier number one. So this is ready, and we are already working with that. So we have also tier number two, which is something a little bit more complex. So basically, something that is deployed, but it's not ready yet. We have a local reg, for example. So things like a field technician asking for equipment history. So we have people trying to understand the inventory. So this is something that requires a little bit more power in terms of, especially with hardware. But sometimes we are starting with that moment right now. And finally, we have tier three, which is something that's real R&D. So it's not production yet. So for tier three, I would say we are still learning on the learning process. We have something that they are trying to implement, but we are still some steps behind in terms of hardware. So we are probably seeing something new on the next months.
Okay. So typically, when we have this kind of a discussion centered around AI, right? Usually, the discussion revolves around models, right? Which AI model to use? What is the benchmark? What is the parameter, right? So what you are saying is that more than the model, for the edge, infrastructure is the bottleneck. That's what that's what I understood from what you're saying. So Gabriel, what is your take on that?
Yes, I think the model is the easy part. So that's a provocative thing to say in a conference full of announcements, but like of models, and they are offering those things here. But believe it, that's what it is. You can download a model, you can fine tune it, you can swap it for a different one in the afternoon, but what you can't do it in the afternoon is rebuild your infrastructure. So that's what the model depends on. So basically to make my point here, it's on the end, if the infrastructure fails, that's what's gonna fail your company, your business, and all that. And the model, we can work it on. And the Edge platform couldn't keep running in production. So the storage couldn't persist couldn't persist with state, and the orchestration couldn't recover from failure, and the operation team couldn't manage 1,000 times without a staff at each one of them. So that's the real bottleneck, not the model, the foundation of that the model sits on.
Right. So basically, what you're articulating to is the storage at the edge, because you don't have the SAN arrays, you don't have expensive appliances. It needs to run on the commodity hardware. The storage becomes critical part. So Sam, in your experience, right? So when specifically for the AI context, what goes wrong when the storage, breaks at the edge?
Yeah, so I can think about four things. So first is model state. When you deploy a model on an edge site, the weights and volumes, the way you have the configuration, it matters a lot. And it's important that they persist locally. This is something very important. So if the pod restarts from a non-reliable link, for example, everything, basically you have the site on a downtime for minutes. When we need this in milliseconds, that's where AI works. So something that we could understand as well, that the Kubernetes native platform is going to give you the solution for this problem, because it can run this in a very good situation in terms of storage and instead of how you manage your storage. So we also can understand about RAG pipelines. This is something important. If you are running retrieval augment generation, it's important that you have the vector index. So for that, you need local storage. You can't do that without that. And finally, we need to understand about audit and compliance. So basically, we have industries like healthcare, financial services. They require a lot of audit, and the data is very important for them. So how you are managing and securing your data is going to make all the difference. So the model life cycle is also very important for this. When you push a new model version in many sites, it's really important to have this in a very good manner. And with without the AI at the edge, you're going to take a long time to have that done.
All right, thank you, Sam. So let's take this back to the audience, right? So let's say you have a retailer or airport or seaport operators like a mining enterprises, mining companies, right? So if they were looking at this, they understand that AI is coming, right? So so what is your advice for them?
I would add one thing on that I think is really important, that coupling between storage and GPU scheduling. When you run the inference on shared GPU at the edge, the critical path is loading model weights from storage into GPU memory. So if your storage is low, your first inference after restart is slow. So at a drive-through window, slow means very hard. So that's I was thinking. Sam has some other things to add to those.
Sam, do you have anything else to add to what Gabriel?
Yeah, I agree with his statement. Basically, that's what matters at the end of the day. So we are talking about something that is really important. We need to understand that we are trying to bring ROI. So the ROI for the customer is the most important thing. So for example, if we think about retail, they could easily get some ROI back really quickly if they could start using that to prevention laws, making something with computer vision, for example. So if they started with one camera and something like that, he can start. So if we go to different industry, for example, like manufacturing, they can just go and put some monitoring on the floor of the plant. This is something that he could do. He could bring some ROI so right away. And we can also work with financial services. They can work with the AI at the edge, working on the image, so OCR. This is very important because they love how the compliance works, and everything is gonna make that happen like right away.
Okay. Sam, 24 months from now, which is April, say 2028. So how would the edge AI would look at the time? That would be a surprise for customers or the audience.
Yeah. When I see maybe 24 months ahead, we are thinking probably the AI at the edge is going to be much further than now. We were waiting for a lot of hardware. We were waiting for the models. We have the models right now, but we don't have the hardware. In 20 months, we probably have the hardware. And I would say the AI at the edge would bring some like factories that can hear. We can understand the sensors. They can measure all the temperature everywhere. So this is something very, very big. In the other hand, we can also have something that the AI, the model itself is going to be able to define when we are going to upgrade, when we are going to update. It's going to have so much information inside the AI model that they are going to auto-manage all the things inside the infrastructure. So this is how I see the future of the AI at the edge.
Thank you, Sam. So one sentence each. What should the architects in this audience should remember? Gabriel, let's start with you first.
Okay, just going back to what Sam was saying. So on the infrastructure side, there's two shifts. First, the storage layer and the edge will support workloads that today require a data center. So vector database running locally, graph database running locally, real-time analytics on streaming data without a round trip on the cloud. The hardware keeps getting denser and the software keeps getting more efficient. So what needed a rack of 2 years ago fits in a one new server today. So that trend doesn't stop. So I think that's the most interesting thing I wanted to add on the question of the AI
24
to 2028, like in 2 years from now, right? And as you're saying, a sentence that defines the future of.
Yeah, so I was just saying that, if the audience that are, if there are architects in the audience, if they want to remember something from this conversation, what would be the one sentence that you would, tell them?
Okay. Your AI models are not only good as the infrastructure they run on. So that's what, from everything we said here today, I think that should stick on our minds.
Yeah, I would say stop planning, start deploying. So that's the most important. One site, one camera at a time that you have like 30 days of experience is going to give you more than 1 or 2 years of planning. That's what I would say for them.
Thank you both. Two different perspectives, but same conclusion, right? The infrastructure at the edge is what separates demo applications from production applications, right? For the viewers, if you want to understand more about AI at the edge and understand the infrastructure deployment patterns, AI, model patterns, so please reach out to us. We are available anytime to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.